To talk a little more about this OPEC Plus meeting, I mean, the fact that they still kept these output curves when oil is rising to close to $90, I mean, does this just solidify this rally in some ways?
Yes, I think we can say that because the OPEC Plus coalition recommended no policy changes at its meeting on Wednesday. And that means OPEC Plus will maintain its output cuts until the end of June. And that's about 2 million barrels a day, roughly 2 million barrels a day of cuts that will remain in place. So that indicates that global oil markets will be kept very tight over the next few months. And we already know that oil markets have been shaken up by the rising geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. And Ukraine's attack against Russian refineries have kept oil prices elevated over the last few weeks. And all of this added, it will mean that supply may be affected, and OPEC Plus decision to stick to its cuts will lead to a tightening of supply. And IEA has said that OPEC Plus looks like it's set to ensure that international oil markets will be kept in a slight deficit in the second quarter. So, you know, we're expecting it to translate to higher oil prices, higher gasoline prices at a time when, you know, many consumers are faced with inflation worries, and the central banks around the world are, you know, trying to do their jobs, but it's going to be a bit more complicated with higher oil prices, I think. But I do want to point out that there are still issues with compliance within OPEC Plus when it comes to their quotas. And for instance, Iraq is producing more oil than it agreed in March again. So it missed this target, and it's something for us to keep an eye on.
Yeah, compliance is certainly almost ingrained in this story, isn't it? Prices, Yvonne and I were just talking about $100 oil as flagged by some analysts. Do people think that's possible?
Yes, I think people think it's more and more possible. Brent crude is flirting with $90 a barrel this morning. As we saw JP Morgan's Natasha Kaneva talk, she thinks that $90 a barrel could be reached this month. And Russia's supply cuts are among the factors that could push oil prices to $100 a barrel by August or September. And also the U.S. gasoline prices will spike. So, you know, we have Ed Morse at Hartree Partners, who used to be with Citi. Now thinks oil prices will probably trade in $70 to $95 a barrel range. So I think there is more and more expectations for oil prices to keep rising, and OPEC Plus cuts will keep the market very more and more tight than expected, I think.